Well, Bitcoin has seen an absolute nuke of volatility, so I wanted to give you guys my thoughts, outline a few levels I'm watching, check the MDX Algo indicators on a few different time frames, and so on. If you are new to the group, feel free to ask any questions about the settings or features of the algos. And obviously, if anyone has any feedback, input, opinions, or anything like that about this volatility, I would also love to hear it. Just please, like I mentioned earlier, just do us all a favor and keep your mic muted if you aren't speaking to keep any feedback or echoes to a minimum. But with that, let's hop right into it. So, like I said, guys, this chart doesn't look beautiful if you are a bull like me. This isn't great. I was mentioning on my channel for quite a while that I didn't want to see 4-hour candles closing below this upward sloping blue trend line. This wick was totally fine. I was actually leaning a little bit bullish with that failed break. But the fact that we started closing 4-hour candles below this line and respecting them so well, I mean, that was a pretty obvious dump in hindsight. Captain Hindsight's always a jerk like that. Like I said, I never did take a short on this, but that's totally fine. But yeah, what I am disappointed about as far as this trend goes is we had this high here and we have this higher high here. I was really wanting to see this higher low here, just the lowest point between these two highs. I really wanted to see the bulls step in at this level. I think the market would have been in a beautiful position had we got a bounce from that level. That would have been an absolutely perfect level to find support, in my opinion. But, you know, we don't always get what we want. We still do have a little bit of support below us. I mean, basically where we're trading right now, Bitcoin had stopped on this little, well, not even little, but on this big rally that we had to the upside here. We did pause in this range for a little bit, so we do technically have a little bit of structure here. We do have, just a little bit of support here yet. But it does not look great. I mean, support always looks weak until you get a bounce from it. Support is always scary to buy. That's totally normal. So we're going to have to see what happens with this level. Like I said, it is a bit of a demand zone. We do have this structure here, but honestly, like I said, I think this was the important structure for the chart. I mean, the fact that we dropped that, the structure just does look a little bit different to me. Looks like we're kind of changing that a little bit. So, I mean, we very well may see a lot more downside volatility. I would expect some kind of a bounce, but we broke so many important levels that even if we get some kind of a bounce, I just really don't know how high we're going to get before seeing another rejection. I mean, maybe we just make it back up to this range, see a perfect retest of this diagonal line as well as horizontal resistance, and see a big shutdown from there. Obviously, we're going to have to see. Nobody knows for sure, but I mean, just as it stands right now, I don't really like the structure of that chart ever since dropping these lows here. Honestly, the fact is, I can even pull up a Fibonacci retracement if I go from basically where we've bottomed out in this market cycle so far to where we topped out. The 382 was also lining up quite well with that higher low area that I was talking about. So generally speaking, in a very strong trend, the 382 can provide absolutely beautiful support. So that was just another thing going for the price there that I was quite bullish about. The fact that we dropped that level, I mean, it makes a lot of sense to me that we would start dropping to some much lower Fibonacci's. And you guys know, one thing that I point out all the time in my videos is I love the 786 and the 886 fibs. It seems a little ridiculous right now to think we would drop all the way there, but I mean, look at this chart. Obviously, anything can happen. It happens on smaller time frames. It happens on larger time frames that we do respect these fibs quite often. Obviously, we don't have to drop to those levels, but I mean, definitely keep an eye on those levels. I think they're very important levels in the market. And I think the bulls may find a little bit of fuel in the tank if we do drop to those levels. Just going to bring up actually something else that's a little bit alarming before I go into the indicators here. Checking out my weekly chart here. This is my logarithmic chart, and you guys are probably very familiar with this chart by now. And I was pointing out one thing that is a little bit terrifying to me, honestly, is the break of this trend line. This goes all the way back to 2013. This trend line is, 10 years old. So the fact that we dropped below it respected it as resistance, got this bounce, respected it as resistance once again. That is not great. I don't like to see such a clean support flipping into resistance of such an incredibly strong trend line, such a long trend line. It hasn't been tested a whole bunch, but the fact it dates back all the way to 2013 is a little bit alarming. And if we bring up the algo indicators, I mean, it did a hell of a job really warning us about this, is that right where we were flirting with this horizontal resistance, we also got this with the retest of that line as well that I was talking about. We also have the trend confluence on the weekly chart, which acted as perfect resistance at that level. And as well, we got this reversal warning at that level. So a lot of things were calling for this dump to the downside with the MDX Algo indicators. We do have this potential support. I do like that this would be the 21 week EMA that is currently below the price here. So I would love to see the price get supported here as well. We do have this market flow down here taking a steep curl to the upside. We do have this demand zone down here, but again, guys, I mean, that would be, this demand zone is basically back at the lows of this current market cycle, and that's also lining up quite well with the market flow at this point. So we might not have support for quite a while yet, you guys. Obviously, we're going to have to see what happens at these levels here, but as it stands right now, not really liking what I see. You can see that I do have my candles inverted in color, so we also have the bright red candles coming into play at this level. So yeah, on the weekly chart here, I mean, the Algo 3 did an absolutely amazing job calling for a little bit of downside volatility here. Much like it did up here, you can see these W's are very strong signals. That orange W is a reversal warning. You can see it called the absolute top of the bull market, and even where we bottomed out so far, that's where we got our reversal warning, and that was an absolutely beautiful call. So to see a bearish one coming into play at these levels is a little bit alarming in my opinion. Hopping over to the 4-hour chart, like I said, we are still flirting with this little bit of support here. I'm just going to clean things up a little bit. I'm actually going to totally remove my drawings and just bring up the algos. Actually, sorry, before I do that, I want to bring up some other indicators on the weekly time frame, just because that's what we were looking at. Yeah, another thing that was called for this downside volatility was these bearish pivots on the oscillator 4. You can see that these were coming into play right around the top of our bands there. Very bearish warning for us there on that indicator as well. Something going for the bulls yet is this money flow is still green on the oscillator 5 down here. So maybe this is just a temporary pullback. Maybe money will still be flowing into the market, but there's just so many bearish technicals right now that I'm a little hesitant to give this too much weight right now. I mean, it still is an important feature of these indicators, but that on its own, I don't want to give too much weight. But let's hop back over to the 4-hour chart here, bring up the Algo 3. You can see that we are starting to show that on the oscillator 4 here, you can see on the 4-hour, we are seeing a little bit of trend exhaustion. That's this orange dot here. And you can see that the oscillator 5 is getting into this oversold territory. You can see that it's starting to flip to a bright green. Our candles are starting to flip to a bright green because, like I said, I have my candle colors inverted because I just really like when you see these three indicators, the Algo 3, oscillator 4, oscillator 5 down here. I really love to see these three indicators lining up, giving that confluence where you see a whole bunch of green showing up. It can just act as a very powerful buy signal. So what I would really like to see now is some more of these big green dots come into play. I want to see one of those here. And really, I mean, I want to see the price hold this demand zone. This demand zone is also mapped out by the Algo 3. That is not drawn in there by me. This is all done automatically with the indicators. So I absolutely love this. It's one of my favorite parts of the indicators. And if I go into the settings, that would be this supply and demand. I have changed the colors just because I like to look at them kind of as support and resistance. So I made them red and green. So that's why they look like that, and they may not for you. But yeah, just basically going to go over a few things. I do see We do have some new names in the chat here. So I just want to go over a few things with the indicators, go over a few settings as well before I go into some more analysis here. I'm just going to bring up the settings here because there is a whole bunch with the Algo 3. This would be the meat and potatoes of the indicators here. This is how I have my indicator set up currently. I use regular candles, so I don't have the Heiken Ashi box checked here. Like I said, I have the candle color on invert color because I like seeing all the green line up. The trend 1, that would be the 21 EMA currently. And the trend 2, that would be this more squiggly line here. And if I'm not mistaken, on the 4 hour, I believe that's on the daily trend confluence. I have it on auto settings, so it's automatically choosing a larger time frame for me. And I also have filter selected, so it's having filter selected will get rid of a lot of the chop. So you can see we don't even have a short signal currently. If I got rid of filter, I'm guessing we probably would, just because that likes to kind of line things up. Making sure, actually, look at that. That was an absolutely perfect short call. So it's unfortunate that I had the filter selected at that point. But generally speaking, I love having that active because it just takes into consideration that the trend confluence and the original trend are lining up together. Can be a very powerful tool in a trending market. Signals, that would be your long and short and strong signals. Market flow, as I mentioned, that was, it's a very faint, you can see it, well, right about here, right from, where did it go here? I did just see it at one point. Either way, it's a faint, oh, I turned it off, that's why. It's this faint gray line here that you can see just kind of came over the price here and acted as resistance there. So that's just showing the general flow of the market. Take profits, that will be your orange dots with the TP. Tops and bottoms, that is these very small blue triangles. I don't know if you can see these, but they act as a bit of a reversal warning, just kind of based off the reaction of the following candle to what's happening in the market. Reversal warning, already went over that. That is those orange W's. Very powerful in my opinion. Trend exhaustion, just the orange dots with nothing there. Stotch RSI, that would be these big blue dots. Also can be very powerful. Obviously did a hell of a job here calling for this dump, lining up with the trend number 1 there. And that's where using these indicators, it's great. Obviously, not every signal on its own is going to be trade worthy. You obviously want to look for a lot of confluence. You want to see the indicators lining up together and that sort of thing. But there's so many ways to just optimize the features and the settings of these indicators to really fit the way you like to trade the markets. Everyone has their own trading styles. It's important to always do a little bit of back testing. I shouldn't even say a little. It's important to do a lot of back testing to find out basically what's lining up with the way you look at trade setups, what your probabilities are, just seeing the math, knowing your probabilities, so you can kind of keep emotions out of things. Like I said, supply and demand, that would be my green and red boxes. This trade setup, this is actually, let's go up one more here. Probability calculator. This will show basically where the current candle is headed, the percentages, the percentage chance that you're going to reach those levels in the current candle. The numbers here for the percentage to hit, they get very small when you're looking at micro time frames, just because these are stepped apart 1%. So, I mean, if you're looking at a 1 minute candle, it's not too often that Bitcoin is going to fly an entire percent or several percent in that case. But on the 4 hours here, you can see that there's a much higher probability of reaching some of these targets here. Just to clean this up, I am going to remove that. Trade setup, very cool feature. This one will actually give us potential trade setups. Oh man, just look at that beautiful entry. So here on the 4 hour, had an absolutely beautiful call where the indicators told us to go short right at these levels. Obviously never came close to reaching the stop loss here, and we have reached our 3-to-1 risk reward ratio. Nailed that take profit number 3. Absolutely beautiful. What kind of a percentage are we looking at here? Yeah, a 15% dump to the downside, and this indicator played it absolutely perfectly. So that is a very, very cool feature that I haven't seen anywhere else. And honestly, not even just for the entries, but what I really love about these indicators is how they remind you to take profits, because I say this in pretty much every video that I make. One of the hardest things to do in trading is take profits, because you always feel like the smartest person alive when you end up in a winning trade. And rather than take profits, your emotions generally want you to double down or triple down on your position, when in reality, you should probably be taking profits at that point. So yeah, to have these numbers laid out so clearly like this is an absolutely beautiful feature. And yeah, like I said, absolutely crushed that call. So that's very cool to see. MDX asking, are you going to take a long, Stu? Yes, I really do. I am laddering into a bit of a position right now. Albeit it's going to be a small position, because I think the Bears have a lot of momentum on their side right now. But like I said, it's always scary buying support, but we are technically at a support level. So I mean, if I lose this trade, so be it. But I do want to ladder in just a little more as we drop a little bit lower, in case this is some kind of a fake out. But yeah, we're going to have to see. I don't have a ton of confidence in it, but this just, I guess, yeah, the aggressiveness of this dump, just the strength of this dump. I mean, I feel like at some point the bulls are going to have to react and get some kind of a bounce. Like I said, even if it's short-lived, let's say we retest this resistance up here, I do think that it's only a matter of time until we get some kind of a bounce off these levels. And to see the indicator right now, it is flipping it on and off with this demand zone here. So it obviously agrees that this is an important level in the market. Kind of the last little bit of support we have until we drop much lower. So the way I see it right now, if we can't really get much of a long position out of this range here, I mean, we might not be seeing any chances for a good long in quite some time. Like I said, I think at that point we might be targeting some much lower Fibonacci's. So that's kind of the way I'm seeing the market right now. Let's take a look at some more degenerate timeframes. Actually, before I hop over to more like a 5 or a 15-minute chart here, let's take a look at the S&P 500. I know I've pointed this out in my last few streams as well, that, you know, even though the S&P has been seeing that same volatility to the downside, we are respecting this line quite well so far. Obviously, anything can happen if we flip that back to resistance. I mean, look out below. We might be testing much lower very quickly. But as it stands right now, I mean, this has been a fairly accurate trend line. It's got a lot of touch points here. So the fact that we are now seeing it try to act as support, well, really, it's showing a lot of signs of support at that level. So much like that scary weekly Bitcoin chart I was showing, how, you know, that was an important support level flipping into clean resistance. We're kind of seeing the opposite on the S&P 500, if you ask me. We are seeing that obviously we've had a couple touch points at this on this trend line now. Let's just take a look at what the indicators are saying. I mean, that doesn't look great. This is a 4-hour chart. You can see that we did get a bearish cross with the trend confluence here, and we do have this resistance up above us. We also have one of these little blue triangles here as a potential reversal there, looking for a bearish pivot there. So we are going to have to see what happens. Like I said, as long as we hold this line as a clean resist to support flip line, I mean, there is potential for a nice recovery coming up. But again, just be cautious, you guys. I do think that the Bears have a lot of momentum on their side. And honestly, you guys know that I am quite often a bit of a moon boy. So I am actually willing to accept the fact that, you know, things don't look great right now for Bitcoin. Like I said, I'm willing to speculate long a little bit just because we are at such a, I guess, such a demand zone. Really, like I said, the only bit of support that we have on this little upswing here. so I'm willing to roll the dice there. But yeah, things aren't looking super great in my opinion. The DXY, basically topping out so far right where I had my resistance box. I mean, not all too shocking there. We had this lower high at this level here, important level of resistance back here, support here. So obviously a flippy area, a great pivot zone in the market for the DXY. And this is on the daily chart, so fairly significant. But yeah, I don't know, lately, I know it's common opinion that the DXY and Bitcoin are inverse correlated, and yes, generally speaking, that has been a thing in the past, but it kind of goes through cycles, and it's not always a thing. And to be honest, you guys, the DXY has been following, or Bitcoin has been following the DXY quite religiously lately. Both of them are getting rejected at the lower high level. I mean, this would be very similar to what it looks like with Bitcoin at the 25K level. So even if the DXY gets a harsh rejection here, it doesn't necessarily mean that's good for crypto. I mean, when Bitcoin was basically dumping off a cliff, even before the FTX, when we were dumping to the downside, the DXY was also dumping. It really didn't matter for Bitcoin. And yeah, I just want to make that clear. There is a bit of misunderstanding there, just because that usually, yes, there is that bit of an inverse correlation, but it doesn't always have to be a thing. So honestly, the way I'm seeing it right now, if the DXY drops, I see no reason why Bitcoin would have to pump, because this chart just looks so similar to what Bitcoin's looks like. It just looks like they're doing the same thing to me right now. But all that being said, I'm just going to go over a few messages here. Fundamentally, this could be a good long opportunity. Promising morning for stocks and then turned on a dime. What do you think happened? Honestly, I'm not a fundamental guy, so I know there was something about, was it unemployment numbers or job numbers, whatever was happening in the markets today. Yeah, maybe that did affect the markets drastically. You guys just know that I'm more of a draw colorful shapes and trade them. I don't really follow the news that closely. I find that it clouds my judgment, and I know that, yes, it is important at times, but I just personally don't trade the news all that well, so I'd rather just draw shapes and trade them. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I mean, we did have whatever happened fundamentally. I mean, we did have the warning signs here, and I know they blindsided me a little bit, but the warning signs were here. We have these bearish divergences. We have bearish crosses on the indicators. Have these beautiful short positions entered with the Algo 3. So, yeah, I think the signs were there before today, honestly. This entry on the 4-hour was much before today. That was, well, a couple weeks ago already. So, yeah, I don't think it was necessarily anything that just happened today other than the technicals, but yeah, maybe it was the job numbers or whatever. Yeah, typically speaking, my only concern is the reaction when Asia opens, as we have frequently seen further dumps overnight during the Asia session. Absolutely, that could totally be a thing that, you know, maybe. The thing is, with these levels that we're at right now, if we do drop this support, I mean, I can only imagine that panic is going to set into the markets very quickly. The way I'm looking at it right now is this may just be a bit of a failed break of this support back here. So, you know, even if you got into a long position, I mean, you could have your stop loss fairly close, kind of below where we've wicked so far, because if we're gonna drop further than that at this point after considering this a failed break, I don't think it's necessarily failed at that point anymore. Oh, MDX going to sleep. Well, good night, brother. Thanks for tuning in. We will, chat on the Discord another day. Good luck in the charts. So does anyone have any questions about the indicators? One thing I want to point out before we go any further, if anyone, since I do see those few new people in the chat here, If you're having any issues with the visibility of the indicators, if your colors aren't looking proper or anything like that, do make sure that your visual order is set to bring to front. Sometimes your candle bodies will disappear or just the color gets a little wonky, whatever. If anything looks out of the ordinary, try doing that. That should clean up a lot of issues. So yeah, just look how much this demand zone is just flipping on and off. Obviously, the indicator is having a hard time deciding if we are bullish at these levels or not as well. Yeah, I think this is going to be a very important level. I know that was a fairly big demand zone that it was printing there. I know it's been on my radar for a while. I was very vocal about I think this is the more important level just because that was our higher low between these two highs. But as it stands, I mean, we do still technically have support here, so we're going to have to see what happens here. Another thing going for us, not only with these trend exhaustions and that sort of thing, but the fact that this short has hit its third take profit is also a good sign that, maybe that's all the move that we get to the downside. Oh, man, yeah, that was an absolutely beautiful short call. Holy... Did anyone get in on that? I'm very curious if anybody entered. We would have got that call right about here. Beautiful. The little bit of leverage. Oh man, just absolutely beautiful. Yeah, Kieran did nail that short. Yeah, he did. I wish he was here with us. He's not here with us right now, is he? Yeah, he was keeping us up to date with that. He obviously nailed it. Well played, sir. If he watches this later, I just want to say congratulations. Absolutely nailed that. What else can we check out? What else? Basically, I'm going to hop into some degenerate time frames so we can kind of watch this live. Just because volatility has been so crazy, I want to spend more time actually looking at a live chart today as opposed to just my analysis. And yeah, we might get a little quieter here, but everyone, I think at this point, if anyone wants to hop in, give your opinions, just remember this is recorded. It will be shared on my YouTube channel, so if you're not comfortable being on the mic or anything, let me know. I can edit anything out, anything like that. But yeah, as it stands right now, I just kind of want to watch the chart live, see what happens on these smaller time frames to see if we do get some kind of a reversal. Here, let's just, I just want to make a line for where the bottom of this support was back here. And then we'll just zoom right in and kind of see what it's looking like. Let's say, I know Stock Poker, you absolutely love the 5 minute. I can't keep you off it. Just kidding. But yeah, we'll just kind of keep an eye on it on these shorter time frames. It does look like it's being respected right now. So far, I'm hoping that this is just a little bit of a failed break on these shorter time frames. This is one of those times where the risk reward, just because we are so close to support here, or the very bottom of what I'm going to call support here, this is one of those times where there is a lot of potential upside if we do get even some kind of a bounce, even back up to this old structure here. I mean, that's a 10% move to the upside with a little bit of leverage. That could absolutely be a beautiful trade there. But yeah, we'll hop back to the degen time frames just to see if anything exciting happens while we're live here. Any thoughts I might have on the MDX Algo dashboard with retail still almost 70% long throughout this move? That's an excellent point. Let's hop over to this. Yeah, we're on the 24-hour here. Yeah, that is a little bit alarming. The fact that Binance retail is still almost 70% long at these levels. I mean, everyone's obviously looking at this potential support level that just like I am. And I mean, I'd be considered retail too, right? So yeah, maybe I'm going to be on the wrong side of this trade. That is absolutely possible. Like I said, there is a lot of bearish momentum. And yeah, to see so many people long still, that is still a lot of fuel for the bears. If the people with deep pockets want to eat up that liquidity, that is absolutely beautiful to see from a bearish standpoint. Not great to see from a bullish standpoint. This can be lagging. Obviously, if the market is 70% long, it doesn't mean that we have to dump immediately, but it's definitely something to consider that, yeah, absolutely. I think that we have room to the downside when looking at that. Yeah. Yeah, there's actually more retail long now than when we were up at 24, 25K. And that's true. Yeah, I think we were at 60, 65% before. So to see us closer to 70 now is absolutely alarming. I'll give you that. How degen can we go here? Can we go even smaller? Go to a 3 minute? Go to a 1 minute? Is anyone else in any positions right now? Is anyone else long? Am I the only one? Is anyone still short or riding a beautiful short? Oh, Jay, you're taking off. Okay, well, thanks for checking in, brother. Always love having you here and love hearing your opinions, so thanks for stopping in. Let's see what the algos are saying on these shorter holes. Look at that. We got a long entry on the algo 3. Look how perfect that. I mean, it definitely doesn't have to play out because we're definitely fighting the trend here, but look how perfectly that stop loss was placed. I mean, it was saying for a long entry right here. We got so close to that stop loss. And that's one of those times, that's actually something that I really like using these entries for, is since, you know, if you are taking an entry here and taking your stop loss here with the indicators like that, you're looking for that 3-to-1 ratio. Whereas, I mean, if you get down here and you get an entry that close to the stop loss, I mean, your loss is so minimal compared to if you hit your third take profit. That's where you're looking at more like a 1-to-10, 1-to-12, somewhere like that, rather than a 1-to-3. So that's something to consider when looking at the Algo 3 with the trade setups, is, you know, even if you take that loss at that point, it's so small. I do usually keep my stops a little looser than what the indicator's saying. But yeah, that's just a perfect example of, man, you could enter at those levels and have such a tight stop loss.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Yo, welcome.
Thank you, sir. I'm glad I made it.
Yeah, me too.
I just drove like 5 hours nonstop. So
Oh, nice. Doing a little traveling.
yeah, man, I'm headed back to the United States from Mexico. So I'm at the border in one of the most dangerous cities in the world.
Oh,
So
you're on your way back home, hey?
yeah, dude. But when I walked in the lobby here, the guys working behind the desk came out. There was a dude in front of me in in sweatpants and a sweatshirt with his suitcases. And
Yeah.
the guys working the desk came out from the desk and took pictures with him.
Oh,
So
really?
I think there's someone famous here. Yeah,
Oh,
I
nice.
think
That's cool.
if I had to guess, it's probably a singer. He looks like a singer.
Yeah,
So
that makes
I mean,
sense.
yeah. But so I missed a nuke.
Yeah, no, that's
I
fair. I
have
was gonna ask if you got in any degenerate
no,
positions here.
no. I wish I had. This is how my life goes, man. You know, I do what I got to do, and Bitcoin says, "Fuck you, man."
Absolutely.
So,
Um,
what time did that all happen, or was it just progressive during the day?
oh man, the whole day has just been a waterfall. Oh, stock poker taking off. Thanks for tuning in again, dude.
Hey,
Have fun
stock
with your
poker.
stream.
See you later.
See you soon. Yeah, I was actually just pointing out, man, look what the algo called out. I don't know if you were here when I was pointing this out. Look at this entry on the 4 hour that the algo had.
Okay, let me get the screen up.
Um, yeah,
Sure.
sorry, it's a little bit colorful right now, but it would have entered a short right here. The stop loss is way up here, so it never hit.
Holy shit!
Nailed that third take profit today. Absolutely
Yeah.
crushed it.
Did anybody smash that?
We were talking about that. I think Kieran would be the only one who did nail the top. I
Of
think he
course.
nailed it. But yeah, I definitely didn't have this on my radar at all. Definitely missed that one. But man, what a beautiful call that made.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Fuck,
And it
that would pay itself off pretty darn quick. That was a 15% move with a little bit of leverage.
and looking at the oscillator five, it had that bottom after the so the short call came out. I'm on my phone, so I can't see the time frame, but it called the short, and then it bottomed to your right, where it reversed, and then later on it double bottomed. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, but as soon as it got that bearish cross on the trend confluence, got below the market flow, below the EMA there, man, that just, the indicator absolutely nailed that on the 4 hour. Maybe
Yeah.
I gotta start looking at these longer time frames a little more. I'm always stuck on the 5 minute and the
Well,
15 minute.
what my stupid brain likes to keep the 1 minute chart up on my computer.
Oh yeah, I love being a degenerate too. Don't get me wrong.
I don't try to. It's just I like looking at it. It's boring watching the 4 hour. It doesn't do anything,
Oh, I know, hey, except for today.
Yeah, except for today, man. That's crazy. Absolutely crazy. So, is there any kind of PA to go with that, or is that just a out of nowhere nuke?
Well, I mean, other than like, actually, look at that call too. This is on the 5 minute.
Holy shit!
And I actually, I mentioned this on the private Discord here. I did mention that, or wait, was it on the, where was it? No, I think it was way up here. Um, oh, where was it? I can't remember exactly where we were, but I think it was up here because I was talking about we had a reversal warning and we were right around the trend confluence. There was just a lot of things showing that we might be taking that dump to the downside. And oh yeah,
Yeah.
anytime you got close to this 1 hourly trend confluence, I mean,
Huh?
it was just absolutely beautiful resistance. I mean, that's why I always talk about how I like to take positions when we are closer to that trend confluence. Like right
Yeah.
now at this point, we're so overextended. I mean, yeah, the Bears do have some momentum, but I think it's only a matter of time before we get some kind of a bounce to the upside. And just that
I,
we're so far
I
away
totally
from
agree.
the trend confluence, I just don't want to FOMO into a short at this point.
No, because it never goes straight up or straight down. So, like, the only thing to do now would be go straight down if you're an idiot and you think that's going to happen. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll probably come back a little bit, continue the fuckery on a
Yeah.
Thursday.
Yeah, let's check some random Fibonacci's. Let's just say from this swing high of this would be the top of this range back here. So if I was looking, let's say we do get some kind of a nice bounce. With the momentum on the Bears side right now, I don't know how likely it is that we do test up to my favorite Fibonacci's, but I mean that does line up with some good structure. That does take us right up to this old range here, which we do have that structure there. So even though this is just a 5 minute, yeah, maybe we do get some kind of a bounce up to those levels and then see a harsh rejection and carry down. The thing is, even if we get a bounce at this point, I know you guys are probably used to me being a perma bull, basically, but I think the structure of this chart has changed drastically since we dropped this low here. So I think at this point, if we do get any kind of a bounce, I don't know. I have a feeling it's going to be short-lived, and I feel like we're going to be targeting some lower fibs, to be honest. Quite often when we end up dropping the 382, that's when we end up eventually working our way down to the 786, 886. And I mean, that's way down at these levels, retesting our low range. So, I mean, depending how badly panic sets into the markets right now, like I said, we do still technically have support where we are basically right now exactly. So far, just a bit of a failed break, but yeah, we drop our current lows at these levels. I think it's more than a failed break, and I think that's where we're going to carry on to the downside. But Gonna have to see. I mean, support, I said it earlier in this video, support always looks scary to buy. Support always looks weak. That's just a day in the life of being a trader. It's always unsettling to be trading near support levels, and you always want to FOMO in near resistance levels. That's just how our emotions work. So yeah, right now it looks weak as hell. It looks like the Bears have a ton of momentum on their side, but until we break this support, it is still support. I could absolutely lose the trade I'm in. So be it. That's a part of being a trader as well. So, but as it stands right now, I'm speculating a small long. Like I said, I think it's high risk just because of the state of the market right now. But yeah, I'm willing to speculate a little bit long at least.
Well, kudos to pretty much all of you this morning, like about 10 hours ago, 8 hours ago. All you guys were saying there's no support if we nuke.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. It was like, look how straight down that was. Speaking of markets not going in straight lines, I mean, oh boy, when we dropped, which line is that? Yeah, that is that higher low level that I was watching here. If we zoom right into the 5 minute, I mean, that was such a fast, straight drop. And I mean, from one line to the other, that's over 5%. We're not used to seeing that much volatility anymore. I know back in the day, we always saw Bitcoin bumping and dumping 20, 30% in a day. I mean, that happens with crypto. That's why we all know and love it so much and love trading it. But yeah, that was a serious move to the downside. But that's just one of those cases of technicals working out. I mean, people say technical analysis doesn't work. I mean, my emotions didn't work with this because I never shorted that. But the technicals were there. I mean, we dropped one very key support level and we dropped straight to the next one.
That's wild, man.
Yeah.
Pretty
wild
unreal
how that works. So, and that's where I say, man, like, where we're trading right now, if we do drop this support, we just haven't really made any other support on this run up. I mean, yeah, obviously we have these very, very brief pauses on a 4-hour chart, but I am not willing to consider that much. When you have levels like this and this drop in, I don't think we're going to get much of a hope in hell from levels like that. And that's where I think that if we do drop this current support, actually close candle bodies below it, yeah, I really do think we're going to start targeting some of those lower fibs.
And it's almost open time in Asia.
I know Jay was mentioning that earlier, that, you know, quite often Asia likes to just kind of continue the dump. So we're going to have to see how they wake up, what side of the bed they wake up on, I guess.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting evening for those of us in the Western Hemisphere.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to have to see what happens. Honestly, I'm not confident either direction right now. My moon boy streak has been broken. I'm a little bit shaken up, and you know, maybe that's a good thing for the market. The fact that the bulls are starting to be a little more cautious, getting a little less cocky. That's generally what the market needs to end up getting that bounce. You need that confidence to run out.
That's right.
I am.
How are some of the? Have you guys looked at alts?
No, I really haven't dove into alts at all yet. I will in a second here if anyone wants to look at some. Honestly, I was just so focused on Bitcoin. I assume altcoins are just getting their asses handed to them 3 times as hard as Bitcoin was. I saw a couple in my watch list that were down 20, 25, 30%. So I assume it's just an absolute massacre.
Wow.
Evening, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I do. Yeah, I was just looking. I know the news isn't something a lot of people are a fan of, but that dump that was induced, Biden came out and he's proposed a bill to raise capital gains tax to 45% instead of 20%. And as soon as he announced that, we got that dump.
Oh, you know, that would do it.
that would do it. And I also saw a headline this morning that Biden wants to tax billionaires. I can't remember. Sorry, guys, I'm tired from driving for 6 hours, but it was either 25% or like an additional 25%. So that He's been shooting off some rockets today. Sounds
Oh
like
yeah, so it's the old man who's causing us all this grief.
Grandpa Joe. I mean, Stu, you're Canadian. I don't know if you've seen it, but there's this isn't political. It's just Joe Biden, and there's a sticker that I saw on a gas pump when he first came into office because the gas prices went way up, and it was the pandemic. But it's "I did that" because he's noted for saying like whatever, he's crediting himself and saying "I did that." You know.
Oh,
Well, now at the dump today, Joe can say "I did that."
oh yeah, he was very quick to come out and say that. Oh, on his Twitter, in the last however many weeks, gas prices have been down however much, totally ignoring the fact that they went up over double first. Like, yeah, I did that. I didn't do that. I just did that. Yeah, wanted to be friends.
Well, I mean, if you're a bear, then you would like Joe because Joe just gave you cheaper gas and cheaper Bitcoin. What a guy!
Well, my gas went up over 10% overnight.
Oh, Jesus.
Our gas jumped, what was it? I think it was close to 20 cents a liter in the last day or two.
Wow.
So that hurts. Expenses keep going up. But, yeah. Oh,
man.
Sorry, I just saw that I have a question here.
Get it.
I am looking at the same chart exchange, but my trade setup is way off yours. Could you show me the Algo 3 settings you have? Yeah, absolutely. So you're on the 4 hour and you're at the BTC USD perpetual contract on the 4 hour. I can bring up the settings here. My guess is I did uncheck filter to see that trade setup. That might be it. Here, let me turn on the indicator again. Do you have filter checked? Because I think that ended up getting rid of some of the calls. Yeah, the filter is actually way off. So being that the trend confluence has only recently flipped bearish on this chart, it was still stuck in bull mode just like me. It never did have that short call. And that's one of those things that, in a trending market, that filter can be absolutely beautiful. It can be such a powerful tool because it'll get rid of a lot of the chop. You'll only see what's basically moving with the trend confluence. But yeah, if you had filter checked, and that's probably why I never saw this call at all, honestly, is because I had that checked. So you do tend to miss out on things, but as far as a trending market goes, I absolutely love the filter generally. So yeah, that's probably it. Man, I can't get over that. That's just such a beautiful trade there. Let's see if it's doing anything on a different time frame. Let's see. Oh boy. Oh boy. We are still far away from our first take profit on the daily. That is not something that we want to see if we are bullish. Because once again, that first take profit, that is absolutely destroying this support that we currently have. And we start hitting some of those other targets. I mean, if we hit the take profit number 3, I mean, that's where we are actually getting close to those 11K targets that people were calling for back with the FTX dump. That is definitely a little bit alarming. Beautiful call by the indicator. Once again, where did it call short? Yeah, right here, right at the start of this range on the daily. So, yeah, beautiful call there. Biden's tax recommendations are meaningless because the opposite party controls the House of Representatives, the corporate-friendly ones. The news on taxes is just an excuse for whale dumping. Yeah, and honestly, that's kind of the way I look at news and why I don't trade the news is because sometimes it seems to really affect the markets. Other times, the markets just don't seem to give a shit or do the complete opposite. That's why I just like mapping out colorful pictures and trading them. Yeah, I actually heard about that too. New York announced suing KuCoin because of Ethereum being a security. Yeah, so that's interesting. How much impact does KuCoin actually have on the market? I'm not sure. But again, whenever we see these heinous dumps, you're always going to see the media come in crawling out of the crevices and just saying, oh, this is why it dumped. This is why it dumped. This is why it dumped. Yet we have the indicators saying it was going to dump days ahead of time. So the technicals were already there. There was already warning shots being fired. But then the media will obviously, everyone wants an explanation. Nobody can understand that these magical lines actually control the markets or anything like that. So,
Yeah.
just my personal opinion, anyways.
You can always find news to suit a narrative of whatever the chart's doing, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Kind of kicking myself. I know I was talking about most likely getting the first time we retest this higher low, or sorry, this lower high rather on the daily chart. I was pointing out that, you know, I wasn't expecting us to break it the first time, but I also wasn't really expecting us to lose this daily trend confluence already. I was really hoping to see some support there, especially the fact that it lined up with my higher low area. I was really expecting some kind of a bounce there, so I got caught with my pants down a little bit there. But that'll happen. Like I said, part of being a trader.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was 21.3. I was hoping to, pull along, but it fell so quickly through it. Thank God.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the thing. I've had this line mapped out for quite a while around 21,386, just looking at the very bottom of that there.
Yeah.
And I mean, you go on the, where was it that we were? I thought, oh yeah, we were way up here. I was looking at the wrong line. It only lasted very briefly, but you could see there was an obvious reaction at that level. The bulls did try and pull the trigger there, but I mean, that momentum was quickly lost as soon as we closed a candle body, even a 5-minute candle body below that. I mean, all hell broke loose. Straight down from there.
Bottom, you know? I was thinking, oh, we've tapped it once, so we're going to tap it again and then bounce off, but it just went.
Yeah, I definitely laddered in some some longs in this level, and then as soon as we dumped down, it was game over on that position. So, but that's why we have stop losses. That's a part of trading. Yeah, we still have a lot of resistance on the micro time frame here, the 5-minute. I mean, we're starting to see some things. Like I said, at least the market flow is starting to curl to the upside here. Have this little blue triangle down here as a potential bottom. We got this little demand zone that showed up here. Again, this green line I've made is basically where I'm looking at that 4-hour support. So this might just be a failed break. Could be quite bullish there. But yeah, obviously, like I said, I don't know. The bears just have so much momentum. It is a little nerve-wracking being in a long position, but honestly, that might be a good sign. If I was overconfident, that would probably be a bad sign. Hi, I'm new here. Can you please look at AGIX USDT perpetual contract? The trade signal is on entry level. I am looking at it now. Please want to know how you would trade this using the MDX ALGO 3. All right, let's look at, what was that? AGIX USDT. That's on Bybit? Yeah. What time frame are you on there? I would gladly take a look at this. What time frame are you looking at? Because every time frame is going to give different signals. 1 hour? Strong signal on the 1 hour. Ooh, yeah, there is. Obviously, we're in a strong downtrend there. One thing that I don't like about this, so first of all, I will do we actually have a trade? Oh, that's why. Yeah, so I mean, as it stands right now, there's a few ways to look at this right now. I generally enter my positions on a smaller time frame, but I'm a bit of a degenerate that way. One thing that is definitely going for this is right now you can see so our entry is here. The way I'm looking at this structure is we did break below this low here. So this, in theory, should be our lower high because that's the high of this range here. So the stop loss is just above that level. So I do tend to agree with what this is showing right here. I do see I do think that we could bounce a little bit and retest higher up into this range. But as it stands right now, I mean, the market as a whole, I mean, we even dropped down below this level too. Actually, we got candle body closes below that level. So yeah, there's some serious structure broken there for sure. I can understand why that's got a short there. But yeah, so basically one thing that I will say is I personally like to enter positions like this if we were closer to the trend confluence. Much like, I guess, up here, because you can see we're very close to this red squiggly line here, which would be the trend confluence. I like to take the entries that are closer to there. But I mean, absolutely, I do see reason for taking a short here just because of the health of the market in general. And we do have this market flow coming down. We have the EMA coming down. Oh, Sam, you got a bit of background noise there, which is fine, but whatever. But yeah, the way it stands right now, yeah, absolutely, that could be a good entry. What I like to do when I do take entries based on this, I tend to actually do my own entries. I honestly use this more for taking profits than taking the exact entries. When I do take these entries, I like to break up my order a little bit. So let's say I would have a short here, right when it said enter, or right now, for example. So ladder in here, maybe ladder in halfway and ladder in close to the stop loss. And that way your average entry is somewhere in here. And that way, if you get stopped out, it does soften the blow a little bit. So that's not to be confused with, you know, going short, doubling down, tripling down. I'm talking like whatever order you wanted to put in at this level, break that into 3 or 4 positions and just kind of ladder in up towards the stop loss. But yeah, I do tend to agree with this stop loss. It's right above our lower high. Obviously, nothing's perfect. It doesn't have to play out well, but I totally, I do see some potential in that trade setup, actually. Let's check a shorter time frame, actually. Because, like I said, I like to be a degenerate. I like to look at 5-minute charts and stuff like that. Where did it enter? Yeah, like that was actually a beautiful entry. We got this bearish cross on the trend confluence. So this is the 5-minute chart, which means that this squiggly line, this trend confluence, is actually based off the 1-hour chart. So anything that's under 1 hour is going to use the 1-hour trend confluence on the automatic settings, at least. That's the auto settings I have checked. And yeah, you can see that we got that bearish cross. We got a short entry according to this. I don't see the signals. Why not? Did I turn them off? No, I didn't. Oh, maybe I had to turn off filter. That's why. And I bet there is a short call right around here. Actually, a little bit higher. But yeah, basically, I don't think that I would have been too keen on taking this short call, to be honest. The one that we had up here. Just because we still had this bullish trend confluence below us. Actually, it had just flipped bullish, basically, but obviously a bit of a fake out. But yeah, when it flipped back bearish here, could have got an absolutely beautiful position. Very close to the EMAs there. I just want to turn that filter back on. Did that actually change where the entry was? Because here is where it was. Turn filter back on. Oh, we actually had an entry way back here, which would have been stopped out. That's weird. Did it just change on me? I swear it had a different signal that was signaling right here. But either way, like I said, I really like to basically enter positions very close to the trend confluence. The fact that it has pulled away quite a bit is a little bit alarming. But like I said, the 1 hour, that is a little bit different because obviously you'd be using lower leverage. It carries a little more weight and all that kind of thing. So yeah, that is actually a nice trade setup if you ask me. So depending how you want to do it, yeah, like I said, if I was looking to take this trade right now, and honestly, it's not looking like a bad setup, I might have to ladder in a bit of a short. Like I said, I would just ladder in towards that just so it softens the blow if you do end up getting stopped out. That's personally how I use it. The confluence being closer, does it make it a better trade? I find yes, but just because it would be the same thing like if you're getting too far away from your moving averages. It just kind of starts to be a little bit overextended is the only thing, and that's why I like to take these signals that are close to the confluence a little bit more seriously. Honestly, this one isn't bad. We are still, I mean, this was still fairly close to the trend confluence. I'm more talking like with how Bitcoin currently looks on a shorter time frame and how far away the trend confluence is. It just, yeah, you know, we could keep dumping to the downside. Absolutely. If we get a short call, maybe we'd get a beautiful one. But the fact that we're just so overextended, it's such a far way away. I would be a lot more hesitant to take a short at these levels that it's at. This one, like I said, I don't think that's too bad. I actually like that. If you do take this trade, keep me posted on it. I'm curious to see how it goes because I actually don't generally trade the 1 hour and longer time frames just because I'm impatient. Like I said, total degenerate here. So I am curious to see how that goes. I'm gonna try and keep an eye on that too, and I might actually ladder in a bit of a short. It would be low leverage, and I think I'd use a small one just because the market has dumped so aggressively today that I feel like there is the possibility of a bounce. But as far as structure goes, I mean, this is a beautiful setup. We have our we broke our lows. So yeah, like I said, this should be our lower high. That is the structure that if we break that level, you know, I might loosen the stop loss just a little bit because we might get a failed break, which would still be quite bearish in my opinion. But yeah, that's definitely the level worth watching. So to see the stop loss placed above that makes absolute perfect sense if you ask me. Yeah, Lord Drake's taking it. Attaboy. Leverage amount, that is totally based on your own risk tolerance. What would the percentage be here? Depends what you're comfortable with losing, right? Because, I mean, oh yeah, I didn't realize just how volatile this was. If that was a loss, yeah. 23% away from the stop loss and you add leverage, and that's actually quite large. So I would definitely, well, me personally, I wouldn't be going too heavy on that trade just because that is a very big loss. That being said, that's where I talked about laddering in though. If you ladder in a position, something like this, I mean, yeah, then you're going to be saying that, oh, you're only actually getting stopped out from where your average entry would be. Why isn't my clicker working here? So you're looking at more like 10%, which is a little more realistic. But yeah, I wouldn't use too high of leverage on something that's that volatile. Depends what you're comfortable with losing is all it comes down to when you're figuring out your leverage. Always know how much you're going to lose before you enter a position. Don't get blindsided like, oh, that didn't look like a very big move. I didn't think I'd lose very much, so I went all in with 5x, but that ended up liquidating my whole account because 20% times 5 would be over 100%, right? So just that's something that's very important in the game of trading is always know if shit hits the fan and you are wrong, because no trader is perfect. Nobody wins every trade no matter what people think. Always know what the worst case scenario is.
Hey, Stu.
Yo.
It is 9:10 a.m. in Tokyo, so Tokyo's open.
Oh, are they?
Yeah,
Is that why we're dumping again?
yeah. So Taipei is an hour behind, and yeah, I think that's all I've got on my world clock.
Okay.
But
Yeah, I'm curious to see if I would really like to see this green line hold now. Just the fact that we broke below it like that, I really want to treat this as a failed break. I think if we, I guess we did break it a second time as well, and we do have this demand zone. We do also have this market flow, as I mentioned, and this is just a 5 minute. Keep that in mind, guys. This is not a big move. This is looking at degen time frames here. But yeah, I really don't want to lose this demand zone here.
hey, I noticed that there are some new people in here. This is probably a good time to talk to them about kind of taking a breather, not when there's a dump like this, kind of hanging out and watching and see what happens. You know?
Absolutely. I know FOMO's a real bitch, and you always want to be in a position. But sometimes the best trade you can make is no trade at all. Don't try and force anything. Try and let the charts come to you. And don't get me wrong, my emotions can get the best out of me as well. I can rush into things just like the next guy. Absolutely. It happens to everybody. But that is something to be important to take that into consideration. That, sometimes just preserving your capital is more important than trying to wing it or FOMO and make more capital. Number one goal: protect your money.
And if you don't know what a falling knife is yet, then you probably shouldn't be trading today.
Yeah, this is a good falling knife. Try and catch that.
Right. So if you're a newbie and you're in the chat, do you know what a falling knife is? Yes or no? This is a really great time. This type of opportunity doesn't come around a lot, where we have a dump and then we have a live session where we can talk about this. This is not regular. So it's a good learning chance right now. Okay, great. So you don't know what a falling knife is. It's when we have a massive dump like we had today. Think about a knife falling off a table. If you jump out of your seat to catch the knife that falls off the table, you're more than likely going to cut your hand on the knife. You're going to lose that catch. So basically, the thing to do, right, is let the knife hit the floor. So once the knife hits the floor, which what's that, the 5 minute chart you got up to?
Yeah.
On the 5 minute chart, it looks like the knife is hitting the floor. But hey, look at that. As soon as I said that, little downwards action.
Oh, exactly, right?
Yeah, so this is why trading's fun. You get to sit here and watch this, especially if you're not a real, I would say, idiot degen, just trying to see if you can make something happen while there's volatility. This is just a good time to learn. This is a gift, for sure.
Yeah, and quite often it's learning what not to do.
Yeah. Yeah, eliminate
even
all
right now that market flow is really struggling. We're back at our demand zone here. Yeah, like things still look weak, even though we've seen all that downside volatility. There can always be more. The markets love to overextend both ways. Just like, when we hit that 69K Bitcoin all-time high, the market was way overextended. Bitcoin was way overpriced for its value. And then it's going to swing the other way. You're going to see it go way undervalued. It's gonna dump further than anybody thinks, basically. So yeah, this is just one of those times where, hey, we are expecting to find a bounce anytime here. Look at all of these, warnings that, hey, the market might be reversing. Hey, we're overextended. But nothing really came out of any of those signals,
Yeah. I just said what I said. Now I'm like on my 1 minute chart with my demo account.
Well, yeah. I mean, why wouldn't you be, though?
It's a demo account. I'm going to do some dumb things. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah. If
What
you
I'm
were,
really looking at right now, if you pull up the 1 minute, we're bottoming. So I'm really just looking to see if I could catch scalp a long, but there's not the money flow that I want to see. So I would back off. Stu, I recently learned the money flow is real important, and I had forgotten that on a couple trades. I'd see the double bottom on the oscillator 5 and confluence on the oscillator 4, and algo 3 is telling me to go with it, and then I make a trade and there's just not the momentum to get what I'm looking for, out of a long or a short. So for those new people in here, the oscillator 5, in the very middle of the oscillator 5, you will see a green and red line. It fluctuates. That is money flow. That's the amount of money that's going into and coming out of the Bitcoin market if we're talking about the Bitcoin chart. So if you're trying to go long and there's a big red line in the middle of the oscillator 5, then you probably don't want to take a long. That's just my sophomoric advice.
yeah, and you can actually, speaking of that, you can see that on the daily it just flipped red. That would be
Okay.
this that Sam is talking about here, guys. That would just be kind of this cloud in the middle of the indicator. So you can see that,
that's
yeah,
a
we
good-
absolutely had some beautiful money flow into the market. Basically, well, yeah, I mean, look at it. This is
It is.
on
Look at all that
a
money.
on a daily chart. Look where it flipped bullish. It flipped green basically way back here. And then as it got thicker, we just absolutely pumped to the upside. So yeah, that's definitely something that gets overlooked on the indicators quite a bit.
Stu, go back. If you go back to that, right where you started talking about the money flow, where the positive money flow started, it totally was a Bitcoin hold my beer. And then if you look at the price action, it's like a freaking half pipe skate ramp.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Watch this, guy.
This is right where everyone started talking about, we have to drop down to 11K or 10K or 14K, whatever. That's when this conversation was happening, but the money flow flipped green. And I know I've heard Stock Poker mention it before, is no matter what you think with the markets, money talks. So, I mean, if there is money flowing into the market, I mean, that's what this is signifying. We have this big green cloud. That's buy volume coming into the market. So, yeah, very important. Thanks for bringing that up, because I also overlook it quite often, especially, I tend to look at it during the day while I'm looking at my shit and whatnot, but I often forget to talk about it here. So, yeah, to see it flip bearish on the daily like that, not a great sign if you ask me.
Yep.
That's actually one thing that is going for Bitcoin is on the weekly time frame. That still looks quite juicy to me. On the weekly, that thing has still just flipped green basically. And I mean, we can go back. Let's just remove all my drawings. Let's remove the Algo 3. Let's clean everything up a little bit. We're just looking at that money flow. And let's go all the way. Well, I mean, let's go right back to the start. The first time it flipped red in 2014. Let me just get a vertical line here. Let's say it flipped red, actually closed red right about there. And look what happened to the market. That was a perfect short opportunity. You can tell that money was just leaving the market at that point. Where did it recover? I mean, let's go the first week that the cloud turned green here. I mean, yeah, it was a little bit early. And that might actually be what we're seeing right now. That's one thing that I was considering, is that we are seeing a market cycle very similar to this. So I'm still under the impression that we have bottomed this bear market. And obviously that can change. The charts will tell the story. That's just a gut feeling. I feel like the market has bottomed. But maybe we just need to see that pullback back to our lows, much like what happened back here. But I mean, do you think anybody cares if they bought up here and they held, do you think they care that it called it early and they ended up dropping to the downside? Even that's still a large drop. I mean, that's a 30% drop from that level. But had you bought and held, I mean, that market cycle, it went up 7,000%. So, I mean, that money flow really speaks volumes here. We'll just, we'll go through every time it happens. So here's another perfect example. We flipped red on the money flow here, and that's where the infamous descending triangle of 2018 basically confirmed that shit was gonna go wild. That's exactly where it ended up calling that, hey, we were going to have another 50% dump to the downside. What happened next? It crossed green. And, I mean, we got a nice rally there. We flipped back red. And, oops, just put that in the wrong spot there. So, yeah, again, this was a little bit early, but that did basically call our COVID dump. So yeah, I mean, whatever you want to say, I mean, the money flow speaks. So even though, yes, we did go up 40% there, but we did end up also dropping 40% from where the signal was, dropped 60% from where we topped out on that little bit of recovery. And that's something I want to mention too, is that these signals can be a little bit early where you do still get a move in the opposite direction. Like here, yeah, it seems like we pumped 40% before that move actually took to the downside there. Let's just continue going with this. Here is where we flipped green again. I mean, look at that signal. Money flow is coming into the market, and once again, we get over a 600% move to the upside. Where did it happen after that? Where did we cross back red? Right where we ended up dumping again. I mean, another 60% dump to the downside. So, yeah, that's why we bring this up. It can be a very important feature, especially on a large time frame like this. I mean, obviously the smaller time frame, all it takes is a couple of big people to get involved, and the money flow can totally change. But just the fact is that this is a very powerful signal, and when you look at it at these longer time frames, I mean, it can be very powerful. And that's one thing why, again, I do think that the market has bottomed or very close. I think this is one of those times where the money flow did flip bullish, and it's just a little early. So yeah, maybe we see, like I said, we get a 30 or 40% correction the opposite direction before it fully takes effect. Where would that take us? 30%, basically right back down to our range lows. So I mean, that would absolutely make sense. Yeah, very powerful stuff there. Like I said, money talks. So definitely pay attention to what the money flow is saying, especially for the longer term like that. Like in my opinion, I mean, yeah, the daily flipped bearish, but this weekly, I mean, this cloud looks like it's just, I don't know, looks like it's going to get bigger to me, honestly. That can flip quickly. I mean, obviously, some of these never did last very long, but you can see that they've called some very, very violent moves in the market. So definitely pay attention to that.
Yeah, I mean, you can have a bad day within a week and still have a good week, you know?
Oh, absolutely. On the weekly time frame, I mean, realistically, I don't think this is what's going to happen by any means, but this candle could just turn into a wick and engulf this whole range. Like, we don't know what's going to happen the next couple days for sure. Nobody knows for sure. But yeah, I think we see this dump. I think we test down to much lower Fibonacci's like I was talking about. That'll give the time for that money flow signal to come into play. And I do think that it's only a matter of time until this market kind of reverses. I don't think we're going to shoot straight into a bull market. Don't get me wrong. I don't even think this is the big bear market rally that we're actually waiting for. I still really do think that we are going to target some of these much higher levels and then see a harsh rejection. I think a lot of people are going to be FOMOing in thinking, hey, we're getting near that 50K. I'm totally getting in before the all-time highs, so I get that blue sky breakout nice and early. But I think that's where we get to these levels eventually. And again, I'm not saying it has to happen in the next week or two, but I really think we're going to see a harsh rejection if we get near that 48K level. And that's where I think we come back down, test these levels as support, and then carry on from there. So again, it's a weekly time frame. It's going to take a lot of time to play out, but we're just going to have to see what happens. Patience is a virtue or something like that. Other times it's a total bitch.
agree with you, man. I think that in order to get back up there, um, macro regular people that don't even own Bitcoin right now, they need to feel comfortable with their finances because Bitcoin is getting more popular and more popular as the years go by. And when those types of people start to feel comfortable buying Bitcoin whatever way they choose to, we're going to go back up. It's not going to go to zero.
Oh no, exactly. Like, I mean, all you have to do here. Let's just remove drawings and indicators. Why didn't that remove drawings? Okay. All you have to do is zoom out, look left. I mean, this isn't just Bitcoin. This is every market you can look at, maybe other than the DXY. Every other market generally goes up and to the right over time. So, I mean, yeah, eventually people are going to forget about all the heartache they experienced on this bear market, and eventually people will be comfortable to buy again. That being said, something we talk about quite often is maximum pain, and so many people think that we haven't had maximum pain yet, so, we can't start a bull market yet. To be honest, I was just thinking about myself personally. One of the worst things that could happen for me personally right now would be to just blast off to the upside and not give me a chance to accumulate as much as I want. If everybody out there is having a hard time paying their bills and accumulating assets that they think are going to go up in value because they just simply can't afford it, let's say I was a huge Tesla bull, for example, rather than Bitcoin. And let's say Tesla just absolutely exploded and I knew that it was a company I wanted to be involved with. I wanted to own a bunch of shares in them. I wanted to buy a ton, but expenses got ridiculous with inflation, couldn't afford it, wasn't able to get in, and then it blasted off and 10x'd. That's maximum pain. I don't care about losing another 20% or 30% even or anything like that. If this market just absolutely blasted off and I felt like I wasn't done accumulating as much as I wanted to, in my opinion, that's max pain. Everyone who wants to own a bunch of Bitcoin but had to sell their crypto and shit because living expenses are getting so expensive, while the whales just scoop it up at these levels because they can afford to do it, that is maximum pain if you ask me.
I agree with you completely.
Because it's not people like you and I that are moving these markets anymore. We will move the markets once it's already parabolic and the whales remove their sell walls and let the floodgates open, and then there's such a low amount of volume that we are able to move the price. But as it stands right now, I just don't think we're there yet because, yeah, we're just, well, that's just all there is to it. We're just not there yet, right? This isn't a parabolic market right now. But yeah, I don't think people like you and I will move the price until, until there's a very good run started and then nobody wants to sell because it's obvious that it's a bull market at that point. So then, yes, everyday people after the media tells them, hey, Bitcoin's all-time highs again, blah, 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 it's going to go up 10x again because it always does, whatever. That's when people like you and I are able to push it short term. But as it stands right now, I really think maximum pain would be if the whales just took this thing to the upside and everyone got blindsided. Nobody would have the assets they want. Nobody would have as much crypto as they want. And they would just be in tears watching it skyrocket. But that's just my opinion. Obviously just a theory at this point. Like I said, I'm under the impression that I think the bottom's in or very close, but I just think it's a time thing. I am curious to see, we basically bottomed out here right on about a 4-year cycle, but the halving cycles are getting a little bit slower. So I am curious to see if we need the next Bitcoin halving before we actually start our bull market, or if that doesn't actually matter as much as we think it will. I think it will. I do think that that's a huge thing because that's a huge supply cut. But yeah, as it stands right now, we're going to have to see what happens here.
Yeah, major things like that take time. They don't just happen, you know?
Absolutely.
And if you were a bear waiting for bad times, world economic times, it's been over like 14 years.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I don't think it's going to take 14 years for Bitcoin to bottom out and go back up, though.
No, I think, like, I don't know if you saw a video I made quite recently about a 4-year cycle, but it seems like, yeah, what was it? Back here, we topped out November, December 2013. Next time, topped out November, December 2017. Next time, topped out November, December 2021. So, like, bang on a 4-year cycle there. It's absolutely mind blowing because I don't typically do time analysis. I want to make that clear. But that lined up absolutely perfectly, and basically same thing with the bottoms. What was it? Yeah, just on the opposite end of, or just a year later, I guess. Hey, it's mostly just a year for a bear market, approximately. So yeah, December 2018 was a stop there. What was it? Yeah, December, January 2015. So yeah, that would have been just a year later. And what do we have here? From November 2021. So we're going to say, yeah, November, December 2022. So about a year later. So yeah, again, those, if we have bottomed here, I mean, that lines up perfectly with that 4-year theory. Crazy how well analysis, time-wise, structure-wise, everything. It's just mind-blowing how well drawing shapes on charts lines up.
Yeah. Especially since candles are just human psychology going up and down.
Absolutely. That's just people's emotions getting the best of them.
That's why TA is, they say it's horoscopes for men.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah. Cool. I just realized we have been going for about an hour and a half. I am going to wrap up the stream because these things take forever to upload as they get a little bit longer since they are so long. So I'm going to do that, but I will be around for a few minutes. Actually, my girlfriend just got home. I'm going to step outside for a few minutes. Yeah, either way, I'll be here for a couple minutes to talk to you guys a little bit yet, but I am just going to wrap up this stream here quickly. So... and yeah, anyone else watching this who is not a member and you're watching this on my YouTube channel, like I said, anyone new here, I do have my own YouTube channel. Check it out, subscribe. I do a lot shorter videos and shorter analysis and stuff like that too, than these live streams. These are obviously much longer and more in depth, but, yeah, be sure to follow me there, subscribe to my channel. And, anyone who is watching this a little later on my channel, obviously, I don't think I need to say it. None of this has been financial advice. Always do your own research, form your own opinions. And like I was talking about earlier, you guys, make sure you're doing back testing. If you're new to trading, find out. I know it sucks doing homework, but find out what your eyes catch. Find out your probabilities for trade setups to play out in your favor and that kind of thing. So with that, if you appreciated this video, please do me a favor. Hit that like button. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't. And if the indicators I use interest you, there's a referral link down below for a 15% discount. And that also gets you into the MDX Crypto's private Discord on top of these beautiful indicators. And much like the people who are here with me right now, that gives you access to being in some of these live streams and all that sort of stuff. So a lot of good shit there. With that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Peace.